Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We're going to continue our coverage of the gubernatorial primary that just passed, and we're here with Joh Wisniewski, who is the Assemblyman from Middlesex County and also a former candidate for governor. But before we get into the race, sure, I do want to talk, we're shooting this on a day when there's been another shooting in Washington, and I know we're just getting the facts, so it's difficult to talk about, but with any depth of knowledge. But can I get an initial reaction from you?
Well, it's terrible. You know, the gun violence that we see happening in this country is not matched anywhere else in the world. And that's something that we really need to have a very careful discussion about. We have very strong gun laws here in New Jersey, but they're not matched elsewhere. The availability of weapons that can be used by people who have, you know, I don't know what they're thinking, but clearly not good thoughts, where they use them to fulfill some agenda on their own, is damaging to our democracy.
It seemed like he had some political motivation. We don't know exactly what that is now, but it seems like he was going after at least office holders. Is there a concern about the rhetoric in this country right now?
Well, we really don't know why he did it or what was said. You know, I would just caution everybody that, you know, at this point in time, literally only a few hours after it occurred, it's hard to really understand exactly what motivated him. But look, had he not had access to that kind of weapon, it would be a very different outcome. It probably wouldn't have happened. And so the real issue here is gun violence in this country, the availability of weapons. The availability for people to keep those weapons concealed is very troubling. And obviously, if individuals then have their troubled personality and they decide to act out their frustrations or their anxieties on other people, they have the means to do it. Something that we have, I mean, you have Sandy Hook, you've had so many examples of where guns are used to exact vengeance and to do horrible things. We have to get to the root cause. It's the availability of weapons on this scale is making our entire society less safe.
I want to talk about the race that you just had, and you ran a great race. I'm sorry it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to work out.
It wasn't as good as I had hoped, because obviously I hoped for a different outcome.
I understand that, but you did run a great race, and I think a lot of people have said that. You had some tough things to say about Phil Murphy, especially in the debates. I assume you're supporting him now.
Well, look, you know, campaigns are about expressing opinions and distinguishing yourself from a field of 6 candidates. The primary's over. It's time for Democrats to come together. And so, you know, I prefer not to start rehashing what happened in the primary. The voters have spoken. It's time for us to move on as Democrats.
I get you'd prefer not to rehash it, but you said that he was buying that election, basically. Is he now buying the governorship?
Well, look, again, I'm not going to rehash the primary election. It's over. It's time that we moved on.
So you'll be supporting Phil Murphy, and will you be campaigning for him?
As I said, that we should, as Democrats, all come together. It's only a week after the primary. I haven't had any long conversation with Mr. Murphy, but I expect that we will very shortly.
But again, the question, will you, if he asks you to, will you campaign for him?
Well, we haven't had that conversation yet, so when we have that conversation, I'll let you know what the answer is.
All right. Looking back on it, what did you learn from the race?
Well, what I learned from that race is that there is an appetite out there for a non-organizational voice, for a Democratic standard bearer in the state. If you take a look at the votes between myself and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Lesniak and others, you know, we've got over 50% of the primary vote among those candidates, which means that there are people out there looking for something other than what the organizational leaders are telling them they should have. I think for the party to grow and strengthen, we have to take that into account. We have to understand that that's something that we have to address as a party. We can't ignore it. We can't say that that was one offshot occasion. It's something that is fundamentally in existence in our party, and if we ignore it, we do so at our peril.
Did you enjoy the campaign?
Oh, I had enormous fun in the campaign. I had an opportunity to travel the state, to talk about issues that I'm passionate about, to meet people all over the state from different walks of life, different communities. I got to see things that in my 21 years in the legislature that I'd never gotten to see, meet people I never would have had an opportunity to meet. So it was a great opportunity to learn more about New Jersey, and I thought I knew a lot. A great opportunity to learn even more about New Jersey, to meet people I've never met before, to understand issues that confront people across the state in a way that I'd never had an opportunity to appreciate.
And I understand it just happened, but now that you've enjoyed a statewide campaign, would you like to run in another one?
I think we're going to take a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, to reflect on what's next for Joh Wisniewski. I don't know. I will say this, is that I was proud of the campaign we ran. I was proud of the issues we talked about. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again, because I thought, as I said at the outset, the voters in the Democratic primary deserve to have an opportunity to hear a debate about where our party goes in the future. They deserve to have an opportunity to understand the choices that are in front of them. And without that debate, the party suffers.
Now that we have two candidates for governor and a new gubernatorial race, and we're in the waning days of the Christie administration, are you going to let that go, the investigation go, or are you going to let Bridgegate go?
If I were the Speaker or the Senate President, I would move ahead with it, but I'm not, and it's up to them.
As you look forward, who do you run against in this state? Do you run against Trump, or do you run against your opponent, or do you run against Christie? I
think you run on the issues. You run on the fact that regardless of the name that you want to put behind the current administration, whether you want to call it the Trump administration light here in New Jersey, or the Christie administration, or the Guadagno administration, the fact is that we've had 11 bond rating downgrades over the past 7.5 years. The budget is nearly $8 billion higher, but education funding is lower. I mean, there's a lot of issues for this campaign to be run on. It doesn't have to be run on who occupies the office. It has to be run on the issues that have failed to be addressed, that the middle class of New Jersey doesn't see any relief. It's hard to send your children to school and not incur a huge amount of debt. It's hard to pay your property taxes because we've failed to fund public education. And those are issues that aren't going to go away. Those are issues that need to be addressed, and I think this campaign is the perfect crucible to discuss those issues and for the voters in New Jersey to decide, we've had enough of the kind of top-down economics that the Christie or Trump or Guadagno administrations have provided us.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You've had a great race.
I appreciate it.
Joh Wisniewski, who is an assemblyman from Middlesex County. When we come back, there is a brand new center in Newark, New Jersey for those who are the victims of domestic abuse. We'll talk about that when Jersey Matters continues.